We're 1 week into Jets training camp. A lot to get to coming up with the voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen.
We'll beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
It's picked off. Aaron Glenn. Jumbled and caught. Jumbo Elliott. One-handed catch. Incredible. Gets running room. It's Reeves. Can't wait.
Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride.
The Official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com. Shoes, welcome back to Jets camp.
Happy New Year.
Hot one today. What were you looking for when you arrived at One Jets Drive to watch Aaron Glenn's practice for the first time with you watching?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just names and numbers, basically. Like preseason football is on the horizon. Not easy. There's always major roster turnover. The Jets are no different. Want to see Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Want to see the rhythm of the offense, his comfort level. But yeah, you know, and also it's fun to watch a new coach's rhythm in practice, and that practice, it moves, right? There's a pep to the step of everyone out there. So yeah, it's just good to see football again.
How difficult is the preparation for a preseason game? The Jets opener is next week against the Packers.
Yeah, it's just name and number recognition that you take for granted during the regular season because your team is your team, right? So anybody that has a team. When I do college football, I can be starting from scratch almost every week. So you'll watch games and familiarize yourself, but people ask me, what's the prep like for the Jets? Like, there really isn't prep for the Jets.
Right.
The prep is for the opponent. I know the Jets. Preseason, it feels like college football. Like, oh, okay, like here comes this. And also, how many snaps will the starters play? So I know the quarterback. I know our number one wide receiver. I know those three running backs. I know the offensive line. But those guys in 2 out of the 3 preseason games might not even see the field that much. So, yeah, there's a lot of guys you're unfamiliar with that coming out on a day like today, just name and number recognition helps.
The Jets reported at camp exactly a week ago. They've been in pads 2 days. You mentioned Fields. What do you see out there today?
He has this kind of, when you see it, you recognize it, unspoken quality of he looks like a quarterback in terms of just body language, right? Like there's some guys that you can see they would make coffee nervous, right? Like they're up and they're bouncing around and they're with the offensive coordinator. He kind of has a saunter about him where it's like, I got this. I've been through this. I played at the highest level of college football. I've been with a couple of NFL teams now. When I was demoted last year, we had a winning record. You know, that probably is his mentality in Pittsburgh, right? Like the last memory he has of being a starting quarterback, they were above 500 team. Yep. So, yeah, very curious at some point to get to know the offensive coaching staff better and hear their take on him. But just that in and out of the pocket, in and out of the huddle, walk over, talk to the coach, command of the group. Right. You can see he looks like, from a jumping off point, a comfort level that you like to see.
What is the offense you think ultimately going to look like? Because the Jets, you've been covering this team for decades. They've never had a guy with a Fields skill set.
I would say that anytime they have had a guy like that, it's been a player just for a cup of coffee, right? Like anytime they've had really a true set quarterback for a time, for the most part, that player has been a stay-in-the-pocket passing quarterback, right? Going from Vinny to Chad. Sanchez had some mobility. He could certainly get out and run, but they still tried to insulate him. And obviously, even a cup of coffee with the 2 Green Bay legends, Ryan Fitzpatrick, like whoever it's been. For the most part, they've been pocket passers. I guess Zach Wilson is probably the closest to what we've had with Justin Fields, his ability to get out and make a play on the move. But like Zach didn't combine that with the ability to play the position at a high level from the pocket. And I think that hurt him. Justin Fields seems a little more comfortable in the pocket. And you have to be able to beat people from the pocket. Well, I think what I like about the way the team has been built, it makes sense to me. Like you can see what the game plan is. And I look back at the Mark Sanchez years. Now, Justin Fields comes here in a radically different position than Mark Sanchez was in, where Mark Sanchez was a stone-cold rookie who hadn't played a lot of college football.
Yeah.
That's Justin Fields in Chicago. That's not Justin Fields now. Now this is a guy that has, 4 years of pretty regular play under his belt. So he is beyond the initial jumping off point developmental stage of being a quarterback. But I do think they have put together this offense similarly to what they did with Sanchez. Let's not make it all about him having to be a hero, the number 2 pick in the draft of a team that really has struggled on opening day and go be our savior. No. Drafted 2 tackles, 2 really good guards, drafted a center, drafted a tight end, franchise wide receiver, right? 3 running backs. All 3 can be a number 1 guy on a given drive if necessary. You have a very clear-cut number 1. You have a hammer looking for a nail at number 2. And you have kind of a jack of all trades at number 3. And all of those guys can play. So when you've got 3 running backs, an offensive line, hopefully a playmaking tight end, a really good wide receiver, some other depth at wide receiver, that's what they did with Sanchez.
Yep.
Now, this group isn't nearly the veteran, proven group that Sanchez had around him, understandably, but at least the philosophy of we can insulate you from having to go be the hero every game. Like, there can be some games where they can win, and Justin Fields might throw the ball 17 times in the whole game.
Yeah.
And if their game plan works, they can still go be competitive and win. I think that makes sense. I like the fact that they have kind of, from a building block standpoint, put the team together that way.
The difference between Fields and any of his predecessors is you're actually going to be calling multiple run plays per game for 7 or RPOs because he can do so much damage on the ground.
Yep.
What ultimately you think that's going to look like in terms of how much is he going to be running per game? Because here's a guy who's been averaging more than 50 yards per game on the ground throughout his career. And a couple years back, he had more than 1,000 yards rushing with the Bears.
That is going to be a philosophical question I'd be curious to ask the coaches.
Yeah.
And that's probably a week-by-week, game plan by game plan basis. There will certainly be designed runs for this quarterback in the game plan. Now, how often do you go to them, knowing that every time he goes out and does that, you risk injury? You have a very capable veteran backup quarterback behind him, so that security blanket helps, right? Like, there have been years where the backup quarterback wasn't Tyrod Taylor. The backup quarterback wasn't a guy that has played in the league for a decade and has won games, and right, that you can play 2, 3, 4 weeks with your backup quarterback and still be a good team. But it's a weapon, right? I mean, he can run. So what breakdown will it be of designed runs in the game plan you actually call? Or is it just conceptual where it's like, all right, the play we've got here is we're going to read half the field. And if your half the field read isn't there, then look for an escape route and go. That could be a decent amount of the game plan as well for a quarterback that's still developing, right? Like giving him the Peyton Manning full field 5-option progression, that'll be in there too. But to overload that with like every single snap that you're throwing the ball, have that be the type of offense you run, or simplify it a little bit, right? We got a 2-route read, and if it's not there, you're a good improvisational player, and we trust you. Protect the ball and improvise. And I do think they'll be part of that for him as well.
Yeah, we'll have the green light. And you mentioned Sanchez before. Remember going back that Rex had the signal system with,
Absolutely.
with him.
And again, like, he's more advanced now than Mark was then, clearly, but his legs are enough of a weapon that getting out the back door, if the back door is there, and going and running to the sidelines, sliding, protecting yourself, but picking up 7 or 8 yards, that might be better than your 3rd or 4th option or a check down that a pure pocket passer would have to rely upon because they can't go do what you can do.
Right. He's got, to your point, he's got such a good way about himself. Just a calm dude, but very confident. I mean, obviously, a big-time recruit coming out of high school, starts off at Georgia, then transfers to Ohio State as a first-round pick. So he's been in the spotlight throughout his life. But he's quite endearing to his teammates. And, one guy who's really pumped that he's here, obviously, is Garrett Wilson. He could see that relationship not only on the field, but off the field.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's in a very unique place. You're a quarterback in New York City, right? The New York metropolitan area, #1 media market in the world. So there will be a spotlight on you. But what pro football fans don't sometimes understand is what the spotlight feels like when you're at Ohio State or Georgia or Michigan or Texas or, so on and so forth.
You know it more than most.
I mean, the spotlight might be brighter there than it is in certain NFL cities. This is still New York. But he is not coming here the way some of these other guys have come here, right? Like when you draft a Sanchez, a Zach Wilson, right, Sam Darnold, guys like that, they were clearly coming here with the idea of, hey, like we're getting you in the top 5 of the draft, if not the second pick in the draft, whatever, Sanchez, whatever, he was 6th or something. You need to come here and save us. Yep. You are our franchise quarterback, and you need to come here and save us. There is still going to be this perception that Justin Fields is a little bit of off the scrap heap, right? It didn't work out in 2 previous stops. He's coming here to maybe kind of reinvent himself. But the expectations are going to be different, I think, for the fans with him coming here than the pressure that would be on him as a rookie if he was the 2nd pick in the draft coming here to try and save the franchise. Maybe that helps, right? There are certain star players in New York sports, that have been in other places and have actually come here and kind of reinvented themselves a little bit where they were that guy, the 2nd pick savior in the previous stop, and now they've got maybe a little bit of armadillo skin because they've gone through some of this at other places, and now I've got a chance to go to a different place and maybe reinvent myself a little bit. I think he comes here with that rather than, being the guy that walks up on the stage hugging Roger Goodell and putting the jet hat on, and now you're going to come here as a rookie and save the world.
And anybody successful playing at that position has some kind of continuity within the respective franchises. I'm not comparing him to these guys, but Patrick Mahomes didn't play immediately, and he was paired up with Andy Reid. And again, I'm not comparing Fields to any of these guys. Josh Allen's been with McDermott for how many years? 7 years now. Yep. You got Lamar Jackson, who's had Harbaugh in his, in his ear. He's the leader there in Baltimore. They developed that culture, and now he's experienced success with the coordinator for a couple years. With Fields, you're talking about 3rd team in 3 years, 4th offense coordinator in 5 years.
Yep.
So you got to give him time along the way. But do you like the way the Jets have embraced him from the get, where Aaron Glenn said, this is our guy?
Yeah, and also, we also sometimes forget this. People come almost like from the Madden world, right, where a guy's got a Madden rating, and that's his Madden rating, and that's what he is. No, like they're human beings. There is an evolution to a season, to a quarterback, to an offense, to an offensive line. Like if this offensive line stays healthy with a 2nd-year and 1st-year tackle, they're going to be different week 10 than they are in week 1.
Yep.
He'll be different week 10 than he is in week 1. So yes, there is a developmental process that goes on with a unit, with a player. I mean, they're human. He's not going to be the same player at Thanksgiving that he is on opening day. Can you bring that process along? That's why I like, again, getting back to how they've built this.
Yeah.
They've built this to maybe take some of that off of his shoulders early so that as he gets more and more comfortable, okay, week 5, week 7, week 10, more can be on his shoulders. And if that works, then maybe he looks different in December than he looks in September. I think that can work.
Jets game day is better together. Bring a group of 6 or more to MetLife Stadium and take advantage of preferred pricing, access to on-field experiences, and more. To book, visit nyjets.com/groups or call 973-549-4590. You mentioned the 3 backs. What do you make of the landscape for Breece entering year 4? It was really impressive the other day, I thought, at the podium. He said, I'm looking at this as this is my last chance. That people talk about potential, I want them to talk about product.
Yeah.
But he also said it's likely I'm not getting an extension like Sauce and Garrett before the season. I don't anticipate that, but at the same time, he's completely bought in.
Yeah, what I thought was going to happen with him that didn't happen was the presence of Aaron Rodgers was going to loosen defenses up.
Yeah.
And defenses still defended the Jets the way they did when Breece Hall was really the number one. Like, it was load the box. You're not beating us. We are going to shadow you with some of our best people. We are going to put numbers up near the line of scrimmage. And if we're going to lose, it's going to be because we're going to make you throw the ball outside. And I think at least early in the season, teams will still defend him that way. Mm-hmm. So I don't expect big numbers out of him the first month. I think his season could mirror, hopefully, what I think they're imagining kind of that evolution of the season could be. That the more that Justin Fields gets comfortable in his own skin, that he gets out and makes some plays, that the passing game at least loosens teams up a little bit, that the offensive line becomes more and more cohesive as the year goes on. I think you'll see, if that works, that'll be reflected, I think, in Breece Hall's numbers.
Mason Taylor caught a touchdown at the end of practice. It was a 2-minute situation. The offense got down the field. Fields found him in the corner. He's been impressive early. Your take on Taylor, because I know you called some of his games at LSU, and also big picture from a Jets tight end perspective, how he could actually change the dynamic here.
Yeah, like he's that athlete. He is that guy, that, the dynamic weapon that you're hoping you get. If it develops, you got to go do it against the best players in the world. But it's almost hard at LSU to stand out.
Yeah.
Right? They've got so many skill guys. They had an NFL quarterback, 2 NFL wide receivers, right? Like 3 NFL wide receivers, I think, when he was there. An NFL back. So, there's only one football. But when he had a chance, he, like, off the bus and on the field, he looks it. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Because over the course of Jets history, tight end position, inconsistent at times, you would say, right?
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at the Jets offense, Garrett gets more than 100 receptions last year. When people are looking at wide receiver too, I kind of think maybe the right way of viewing this, or more complete way of looking at this, is from a playmaker perspective. Maybe who's your second option in the pass game? Who's your third option in the pass game? Because for this team, maybe it is a tight end. Maybe it is a running back.
Yeah, if you get a really dynamic player at either of those two positions, and if Mason Taylor is what we think he can be, you already know you've got Breece Hall.
Yep.
So those two guys in the pass game, in the screen game, could be huge. Yeah. I would expect tight end screens just to get the ball in his hands. Certainly going to throw screens to Breece Hall. There's no question that, like, the NFL, it used to be about, here are our plays, here are our roles, we're going to run our plays. And offense has evolved to be something different than that now. Like in the NBA, I was watching an old Knicks game the other night, and I'm watching it with my kid, who's 16, 17 years old. And I'm talking about Patrick Ewing being one of the great shooting big men of his era. He never shot the ball from more than like 15, 17 feet out. It didn't occur to people back then to have 7-footers shoot threes. The analytics hadn't gotten in there yet, right? Like right. Wanting to shoot 60 threes a game wasn't even in the universe of the thinking of basketball in the 90s and 2000s. It just wasn't. So the game looks and was played differently. Now, could those guys have done that in that era had they been coached to? Yeah, they probably could have. But it's just not how it was played. 80s, 90s, 2000s, football was kind of, here's our offensive playbook, here, and we're going to run our plays. And the defense is going to come up with concepts to defend our plays, but we're going to run our plays, these are our plays, practice our plays, and go do it. That's not the way the forward-thinking NFL offenses run anymore. Tanner Enstrand comes from a place of forward-thinking NFL offense, where it's more concepts. It's not so much a playbook, but here are 3 or 4 different things we could do out of the same concept. And let's watch the defense and learn their rules And when we learn their rules, we'll come up with a concept to try and kind of defeat their rules. In that world, a playmaking tight end, a good catch the ball running back, like that's why you've seen those roles explode over the last 5-7 years, because those guys now do things they weren't asked to do 10 years ago. It's not Thomas Jones anymore. When we get you the ball, it's going to be downhill into the line of scrimmage, and you're our running back, and that's what running backs do. And every now and then we'll throw you a screen. No. Now it's about, like, let's get a tight end or a running back isolated on a safety in a mismatch in the passing game and treat him like a wide receiver.
Yeah.
The Jets have some guys that can do things like that, and that should take all the heat in the world off Justin Fields if you can create those mismatches.
Much has been made about the physicality here early in camp. Your thoughts, what you saw today, and also the way you're ingesting some of this coming in as far as the tackling drills.
Yeah,
Go on.
even leading up to, like, college football starting for ESPN, your schedule crisscrosses. So how many days can I get out here? I looked at the schedule and I saw, oh, well, they're in pads. Like, I want to go to a padded practice. And I saw what I expected to see. Guys got tackled to the ground. Right? They're practicing all the way through. Sometimes thud, but sometimes guys right to the ground. And it was noticeable. Like, that's old school, right? Like, that's Aaron Glenn playing for Parcells in the 90s style. Can't do two-a-days.
No.
Can't have pads on every day, but you're going to play some football on the days that you can put pads on. And they did that today.
What do you make of his approach with the guys and also his interaction with the media?
I haven't really had a chance to have the one-on-one interaction myself. I've only seen press conference Aaron Glenn. He seems like the man in charge, right? Like the general gets up at the podium and briefs the world on what his plans are.
Yeah.
So he has that command. He seems like he's very comfortable in that role. He certainly learned from a few of the best how to command a room. So, and the guys on the team certainly seem to respect him. I mean, every time you hear any player asked about him, they all seem to use the same terminology of, like, no nonsense, right? Like, cuts to the chase, tells you what he's thinking, doesn't beat around the bush, right? Like, he seems pretty direct in all of those scenarios.
Finally, I wanted to ask you about Will McDonald.
Yeah.
You mentioned the offensive line. Armand Memba was getting tremendous work each day because I don't know if McDonald has a ceiling. He had 10.5 sacks last year. He broke out. Jermaine Johnson, obviously on the mend, working his way back from the Achilles, but he's feeling good. The Jets are going to take a cautious approach to make sure he's ready for the long term. I like the skill sets, how they can complement each other. But he came back this year, McDonald, muscled up. He went from 235 to 250. His athleticism is freaky. He's a unique specimen. What do you anticipate from him as we go ahead?
I'm just excited to see if he just continues to produce as a player that, if you think about the brief time he's been here, has never probably been talked about as like a spotlight player. When you think about, like, when they lost Bryce Huff,
Right.
what are they going to do? And then Jermaine Johnson tears his Achilles. And then you have a very well-publicized holdout that never comes to fruition, right? A star player that you're bringing in to rush the passer. And that was a disaster all year. And all he did at this position, that every time you heard people kind of talk about it or write about it, it was always, the Jets have to go get a D-end. They have to get a pass rusher. I mean, look, they're losing all of these guys, all the players that you thought were going to be the top of the depth chart players. And all he did was take every opportunity that was put in front of him and just go sack the quarterback. And I kept saying, they have a guy on the field that's got like 9 sacks. Like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
Why is it that this disaster of depth at pass rusher, I don't know, seems like he's pretty good. And so now he goes into this season as an unquestioned starter at that spot. But he earned it, proved it, did it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if he keeps it up this year. Based on what I saw today and also what I've seen and heard from him even so far briefly in training camp, it looks like he's picking right up where he left off.
Would you say the Jets haven't had a guy with this kind of skill set since John Abraham?
That's probably fair.
And it's interesting looking back at that draft, too, because everybody was upset they didn't take a tackle at that point.
Yeah. I mean, the one-on-one pass rusher or the bend-the-edge pass rusher that can go get the quarterback and allows you to get to the quarterback without sending numbers, right? Like that, every defensive coordinator is looking for a fourth quarter pass rush without having to blitz. Yeah. Like that's what they want. And if he gives you the ability to have especially a fourth quarter pass rush when the other team's kind of tired, but hopefully you've got gas in the tank and you can now wear a guy down over the course of the game, and when the game's on the line, go make a game-changing play, end a drive, draw a holding penalty, make a sack, knock the ball out, which they didn't take the ball away nearly as much as they needed to last year. That has to be something that changes this year. You have to take the ball away on defense. Nothing creates turnovers like rushing the passer, whether you're knocking the ball out or forcing interceptions. If you can do that and you can still drop 7, that's the special sauce for every defensive coordinator. And he's that kind of player. He gives a defense that type of an element.
I think he's got 15 sack potential. He's a guy who could have a sack a game. I mean, that's and he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Jets, Steelers, September 7th. Have you thought about what the atmosphere is going to be like at MetLife?
Who's playing quarterback for the Steelers?
They tell me a guy.
They sign a guy?
They tell me a guy by the name
They signed a guy.
Aaron Rodgers.
I would think there'll be some spirit in the building.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Time for an extra point. I love training camp. Football has returned, and it's something that we all can celebrate. In fact, the Jets will have a game next week and begin preseason play Saturday night in Green Bay against the Packers. Aaron Glenn is setting the tone, stressing that his players are smart, tough, aggressive, and resilient. Pads are popping, the pace of workouts has stood out, and there's been complete buy-in from the players. Glenn is not emphasizing wins and losses, staying focused on daily improvement and discipline and details. If that happens consistently, wins will follow for the Jets in the fall.